What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here coming at y'all. A Friday episode, Friday, June 11th, man. Hope y'all had an awesome week, man, and even better weekend planned ahead. We're revisiting the playoff talk. So last episode was really just me promoting myself, my own model on how the 12-team playoffs should work. They almost got it right. At least it's going to probably happen. So all reports are that the College Football Playoff Committee are presenting their proposal next week. But every report signals that it's going to be imminent, that it's approved, and that college football is probably going to shift to a 12-team playoff in 2023. They have a few years left on the contract they signed when they initially made it 4. Under this proposal, Brandon, 12-team format, the 4 highest-ranked conference champions would be seeded 1 through 4 and receive a first-round bye. So that actually, and that means Notre Dame is ineligible to ever receive a bye week, even if they go undefeated, because they're not a conference champion, because they're independent. So this could force – that's one of the big things, is this could force Notre Dame to join the conference. And the funny thing is, Notre Dame's athletic director, Brandon, is on the board that presented this proposal, which makes it even more imminent that it looks like Notre Dame's probably going to join the conference. Then teams 5 through 12 would play each other in the first round on the home field, Brandon. We finally get some important home and home games in that first round. Of the higher-ranked team, the quarterfinals, semifinals will be played in bowl games, and the national championship will remain that neutral site as always. And so the quote here from the head of this committee is, quote, "The practical effort of this will be that 4 or 5 weeks that go into the season, there'll be 20 or 30 teams that have a legitimate claim and practical opportunity to participate in this playoff. That should make for an extraordinarily good October and November." Brandon, the schedule right now, tentatively, is the first-round games would take place on the campuses sometime during the 2-week period following the conference championship game. That's usually like the second or third week of December. The quarterfinals will be played on New Year's Day or January 2nd. And then the national championship would, of course, be like that next, like 2 weeks from then, like normal. Like it's at that second week of January, that Monday. So, not a bad model. I feel like I would like to see the semifinals also be a home-and-home series, and then maybe have the Final Four and national championship at a neutral site. But I get it. It's a working model, first time for everything. So, Brandon, before we break, because this episode is mostly going to be – I got brackets, Brandon, made all the way back to 2016 of how this would affect the history of college football. So we're going to go through it and really kind of break this down. But first, what are your initial thoughts on this plan?
I'm kind of here or there. It's hit or miss for me. I've been vocal on this podcast about how I think 12 is too many. I think 8 would be nice, but 12 seems like a lot. But I get it. The ESPN or college football, if you want to steal Zach's ideas, just like give us a residual check or something. I know we already had this episode where Zach sat here and was like, "I told you so," but I wasn't on that episode, so here I am now.
That episode will be linked in the description. So check that one out after this one.
Another thing that I can't help but think, Zach, is that I'm not sure that Notre Dame will join a conference, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if there was like a Notre Dame clause. Like if Notre Dame was ranked in the top 4 in the country, then they would automatically get that bid. I could see that happening in the final plan. Same deal with BYU, same deal with any other independent team. But, you have to love to see an expanded playoff, because the first thing that comes to my mind is, this means that we're going to have more competitive football, because suddenly with that one loss doesn't matter so much. That one loss in week 1 doesn't automatically disqualify you from going to the national championship. And that's exactly what we talked about when we expanded it to an actual playoff, like to a 4-team playoff, instead of just going to the national championship. It was almost impossible to make it to the national championship with a loss. And I think LSU was the only team to ever win a national championship with 2 losses.
And no 2-loss teams ever made the playoffs. Auburn in 17 was the closest, and they had to knock off back-to-back number 1 teams and then play Georgia again just for a chance to get in.
And so, I don't know. To me, the 14 playoff didn't solve that dilemma like we thought it would. It didn't solve the, hey, can a not Power 5 school, make it to the national championship? It didn't solve that issue. I think a 12-team playoff, and I still think an 18 playoff would have solved this as well, but I think that we're going to see these group of 5 teams make it into this playoff. I mean, almost certainly. Like, how many teams would have made it this past season, Zach? Like
2.
Right. So like
Okay.
you have multiple. I mean, at least 2 would have made it this past season.
Because Cincinnati, so it's the 6, it's like the top 6 conference champions. So Cincinnati was ranked higher than Oregon. So the Pac-12 champion would not have made it last year just based on rankings.
Right.
So Cincinnati took Oregon's place. So you would have an AAC group of 5 team replace Oregon, who, let's be honest, I'm a big Oregon guy, but Brandon, Oregon didn't belong in the playoffs last year.
Right. No, I agree. But I do think that we're going to be able to see a lot more competitiveness throughout the season, because what happens right now when a team loses a game or 2, you don't see that same drive on the field anymore. I can tell you for sure the energy wasn't there for LSU once they hit 2 losses this season. That's when players started opting out. That's when things started to go like really downhill. It was when they started losing more games than they'd won. And so I don't think we're going to see that as often, because now we might even get, it might be a stretch, but we could even potentially see a 3-loss team make it the playoff, Zach. I mean, we're going to see a lot more teams in this, and I think you're exactly right, or whoever was exactly right whenever they said it. We're going to see a lot more competitive football in October and November, which isn't that the end goal, Zach? Don't we want to see better football? And that's what we're going to get out of this.
So what's your response? I'm pumped for this episode. I went and listened to our guy Josh over at the Late Kick. He's one of the deniers. He said that this completely devalues the regular season of college football.
Now, I don't think it devalues it. I think that if we would see a playoff like the NCAA basketball tournament, like a 64-team tournament, that's overkill.
But doesn't college basketball regular season matter?
It does. That's what I'm saying. But okay. So what I'm getting at is that their season does matter, and so with a 12-team playoff out of 100 and close to 130 teams in NCAA football, the top 10% make the playoff. That's it, Zach. Like we're not talking about half of the field makes the playoff. That would be ridiculous. That would make regular season not really matter. But
7 loss UTEP as the 64th seed.
Right. We're not talking about NCAA baseball where you can lose almost half your games and still make the postseason. Unless you're Auburn, then you just can't make the postseason. That sucks. But I mean, look at what we see in those sports, Zach. We see these Cinderella stories every single year. Right now, LSU's going to a super regional. They've had their worst year they've had since like 2011, and they've made it to a super regional. We saw UCLA make it to the Final Four this past season in basketball. They were an 11 seed. So with this, what's up?
James Madison in the College World Series for softball.
Yeah, the women's
knocked off Oklahoma and Oklahoma State to get into the college. Like, come on, man.
And so, I mean, no doubt you can have more losses if that's what Josh Pate's getting at. And I'm not trying to call him out, but maybe I am. Maybe we'll get more publicity that way.
Well, it's not just him. There's a lot of college media members who, I don't like personal attacks. There's this whole narrative that only people who don't understand college football are for an expanded playoff is completely ignorant. It's the same people who are like, man, there only should be 2 teams like back in my day. It's like, calm down, old man. Like, it's like we're progressing here. Like, Brandon, you can't tell me the regular season doesn't matter if we expand it to 12 because now in the NFL, 14 teams make it. I don't see anyone saying the regular season for the NFL doesn't matter.
That's exactly right, Zach. And the field's so much bigger in college football. I don't know. That is a ridiculous argument, in my opinion. What do you mean the regular season doesn't matter? Like I was just saying, you can maybe lose 3 games and make it in. I doubt it. You'll probably still it'll probably be tops 2 losses, but we're gonna see a more competitive playoff. We're not just gonna have three total games in the playoff. What did that solve, Zach? That didn't solve anything.
I saw a tweet. It was from someone from Yahoo, I think, Yahoo Sport. It was like Yahoo Sports or something like that. They tweeted like, it's 2023 and we're watching 7-5 Alabama play Coastal Carolina. And it's like, one, until Nick Saban retires, Alabama isn't losing 5 games. And 2, when's the last time you saw a 5-loss team ranked in the top? Because with this guaranteed to the top 6 conference champions, you have to be in the top 12 minimum, probably the top 10 in most years to get into the playoffs. What 5-loss team is in the top 12? And I get it, you're trying to be dramatic, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's no way. I mean, Alabama with 3 losses was 13th. And people were complaining about that. So you're telling me they're going to be top 10 with 3 losses?
No, absolutely not.
It's just dumb. And people just get they aggravate me to death. And they're like, you're going to watch a 55-0 blowout the first round. And it's like, we watched that. It's called LSU Oklahoma with 4. Joe Burrow's still throwing touchdowns on Oklahoma as we speak in 2021.
I mean,
like, I don't understand it. There's going to be blowouts, whether it was 2, because USC beat Oklahoma 55-20 in 2004. Miami beat Nebraska 31-3 by halftime in 2001. There's blowouts, whether it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 64. But why is that an argument to not expand it? Because we see blowouts. Alabama and Ohio State wasn't competitive past the first play this year.
Right. And Zach, you cannot tell me that a 12-team playoff is going to ruin college football. Don't tell me that people who don't watch college football don't want this, because what do people who watch college football want, Zach? They want the best end product. I say that every single episode that we record. We want the best end product. And how are we not getting that here? We're getting more football. That's the number one thing. We're getting more football. That's awesome. Number 2, we're getting more competitiveness. We're going to get to see games that we would never get to see otherwise. We're going to get to see Alabama play Cincinnati. We're going to get to see Ohio State play maybe a Coastal Carolina. And we're going to see how well these teams fare against each other. We're going to see all the things that we speculate about. We speculate about all this stuff week in, week out during the regular season. Well, how would Coastal Carolina this past season? How would Coastal Carolina fare against a Power 5 team? How would they fare against Alabama or one of these playoff teams? We might get to see it and settle that argument. How is that a bad thing?
And not even that. How about y'all not signing up for Georgia, Clemson, and Death Valley in the semifinals?
Part 2. Let's get it.
I mean, come on. And, speaking of that, we'll get into these projected college football playoffs for these past few years. But first, Brandon, this whole idea that it's going to be Alabama or Clemson anyway, yeah, it might be some years. But there's also going to be that year where Penn State comes out of nowhere, or LSU comes out of nowhere, or Texas comes out of nowhere, or USC. Brandon, I'm looking at the college football playoff from 2014. There's the seed that won. The 4 seed won the first year. 2 seed. Oh, look, another 4 seed, Brandon. 2 seed. And then the last 2 years was the first time a 1 seed won, and it was LSU and Alabama this year.
Right.
You're telling me that's it's always going to be the 1 and 2 seed? In the NFL, the 1 seed doesn't win all the time.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just won the Super Bowl as a wild card. The Giants with Eli Manning won from the wild card twice.
Right.
Teams get hot.
The Giants won when they were 8-8. I think that was their.
They did with the year the David Tyree catch. They were 8-8 going to the playoffs. Ask the Saints what happened when they played the 7-9 Seahawks.
Hey. Don't do that. We don't want to talk about Quake.
All right, so we're 15 minutes in, man. Let's get into these brackets. I got to share the screen here. Let's see.
Few technical difficulties.
Let's go. Oh, and you can see us on this one. Let's go. This is big time here, boys. So this is the 2016 playoffs as the format was released today. So your buys would be Alabama, Penn State, Clemson, and Washington, Brandon. Those are the top 4 rated Power 5 champions. The first round matchups would be Wisconsin. Brandon, let's rate these on interest level 1 to 10. for these matchups. So that way we can see if it's going to be a blowout or not, or people weren't going to watch. How many of y'all are watching USC Wisconsin in Madison?
Okay, what's your rating?
I'm giving that like a 7.
I'm giving it like a 1 million. I would watch that. We could play that game at 8 a.m. I'd wake up. They played at 4 a.m. I'd wake up and watch it.
Facts. This one I get. I'm not going to lie. This one's for the Josh Pates of the world, the deniers. I get it. This one's going to be an 8 a.m. game. Ohio State, Western Michigan in Columbus.
Wasn't that the Corey Davis year, though?
Yeah, it was.
So that was a good team. They wouldn't have won, but I still would have watched it.
I still would have watched it. But we're in it for the other matchups. Oklahoma, Colorado, 7-10 matchup. That wouldn't have been because that was the year Colorado was pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And then Michigan, Florida State in the Big House. Sign me up for that on Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday. It doesn't matter. You can sign me up for any day of the week. You're talking about Michigan and Florida State when they were both good? This is still Jimbo time at Florida State.
Right.
I think that was a bowl matchup too. That was the Orange Bowl. I'm pretty sure it was a good game.
I think you're right.
Oh man.
Exactly.
So yeah, that would be.
What's even better is that in the next round we would probably get to see Ohio State and Penn State play. That's awesome. How is that not awesome in the playoffs?
In Happy Valley, so that'll probably be another whiteout for them.
So we get to see that. We get to see Alabama play either Wisconsin or USC, which is either way awesome. We get to see Clemson probably play Oklahoma, which we see every year, but everyone watches it every year. And then we get to see Washington play either Michigan or Florida State, and that's an awesome matchup. I don't understand how this is a bad thing at all.
I don't know, man, but let's see. This is 17. So this year, I think, is the best argument for it because your buys are Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Georgia, 4 great teams. And then you get USC, Penn State in the Coliseum, Brandon.
Yeah.
That's 10 out of 10.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Hey, you know what's funny, Brandon? They played in the Rose Bowl that year. Do you remember that was the game of the year, like multiple overtimes?
Yep, sure do.
And how about this? This is the crown jewel for me, Brandon. We finally get to determine if UCF at Alabama and Bryant-Denny. That's a 4 million out of 10.
Well, I mean, that was the year that LSU finally beat them and shut them up after Auburn couldn't. So, yeah, I mean, that probably would have been a good game.
No, this is 17.
Oh, my bad. That was the year that they did lose to Auburn. I'm sorry. Or Auburn lost to UCF.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, tough. Because in the next matchup, I'm signing up for this. I don't care if what's happening. My wedding could be scheduled for the day of Miami, Auburn, and Jordan Hare, and I'm going to be in Jordan Hare.
I mean, we know you're signing up for it. Yeah, that's still an awesome game. As not a fan of either team, it's awesome. But I don't know if I'm skipping my wedding.
That's because you're married. You can't say that. Like you got stake in this.
I wouldn't skip my wedding.
Exactly. And then Wisconsin, Washington, and Madison, Brandon.
I'm in. Sold.
And then in the next round, you probably get Georgia, Wisconsin. Sign me up. Yeah. You're going to get Oklahoma, Auburn, or Oklahoma, Miami. Sign me up. And then you're probably going to get Ohio State, Alabama, Brandon. Sign me up every single day of the week. And then Clemson against USC or Penn State. How is this bad? I'm still trying to wrap my mind around how this is bad here.
We get so much. Zach, this is like the best week 1 matchup that we could ever get. Like, this is what everyone hopes for. And this is what we always get the first week of the season. We get these interconference games that are just, you cannot miss them. And we're getting 3 rounds of that basically.
And Brandon, let's be honest. Would you rather watch Auburn Miami in the Peach Bowl when the team has a bunch of opt-outs and no one cares, or Auburn Miami with a shot to go face Oklahoma for a berth into the next round to go compete for a national championship?
Obviously the latter.
Exactly. Why is this bad? You rather just have a bunch of random bowl games?
Dude, I don't know. Let's ask Josh. Let's ask him.
But 18, Brandon, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma get the buys. UCF Washington would be an interesting matchup, and that's when UCF would have a shot to win.
Yeah.
And then you get Notre Dame, Penn State in South Bend.
That's pretty sweet.
And then Michigan, Florida in the big house.
Also sweet.
Georgia, LSU. LSU has to go into Athens.
And LSU already beat them that season, so that's a wash.
But I want y'all to comment below. Which matchup are you just going to go take a nap during? Which one would you? Which one of y'all skipping this game to go watch the Valero Bowl?
Nah, never.
And Brandon, you also might get an Alabama UCF matchup in the second round, a Notre Dame Ohio State matchup, or another Penn State Ohio State matchup. Then you get Florida Clemson or Michigan Clemson, and then Georgia Oklahoma again, or LSU Oklahoma.
Yeah, that dude. This is. I mean, I don't even.
This gets me excited for college football.
That's what I'm saying. The only downside I could even potentially see is that they might have to shorten the season for this. But I'm okay with that. If this is what we get, I'm fine with that.
And yeah, listen, we've been through 3 years so far, Brandon. I saw one bad matchup.
Okay, yeah.
Ohio State, Western Michigan, that's bad. But we've went through 3 years, we got one bad matchup.
Right.
And then 19, LSU, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Clemson get the buys. Wisconsin, Florida, and Madison, Brandon.
Could you imagine LSU and Florida in the playoff rematch of that game that year?
It was such a good game.
Yeah, and you get the rematch in the playoffs. That's awesome.
On a neutral side, and then Georgia Memphis, I think is an interesting game. Yeah, Georgia probably wins it, but let's see if Memphis is for real because they completed with Penn State in the Cotton Bowl.
I was going to say Memphis was awesome that year. Like that, they might actually put up a good fight against Georgia.
And then Baylor, Penn State, and Waco. How big of a game is that in Waco, Texas that week?
You get Matt Rule as the head coach again. That's an awesome matchup.
People forget they were very close to knocking off Oklahoma.
Yeah, they were.
And then you get Oregon-Utah rematch. That was a good game in the Pac-12 championship. And then listen to these second-round matchups. You get LSU-Wisconsin in the second round, which was a good game when they played back in the day. Or you get a rematch between Florida-LSU. Then you have Georgia-Oklahoma potentially, or Memphis-Oklahoma if everything goes south for Georgia. And then how about this? Ohio State-Baylor, man. When in the world do we get to see Ohio State and Baylor play for something meaningful?
You don't. You never do.
Or Clemson, Oregon? Or Clemson, I mean, come on, man. I don't understand it. And so, well, hang on. I got to get to the 2021 here. Apparently, it was like the one that wasn't in there. But this one is one of my favorite. Cincinnati, Georgia, which we already saw was the classic game in the Peach Bowl. This one is for a chance to go play Alabama.
Right, man. That's awesome.
And then Notre Dame Coastal. Brandon, let me ask you. Are you 100% certain Notre Dame would have smacked Coastal?
No, not at all. You watched Notre Dame play this postseason. You saw what happened to them against Alabama. It was bad.
Yep. And then Florida, Iowa State. You get to see Kyle Pitts and Breece Hall on the same field.
Right.
Going toe-to-toe for a chance to go play Clemson and Trevor Lawrence. Sign me up every day. And then Texas A&M versus Indiana. And listen, this game would have been my favorite if Michael Penix Jr. wouldn't been hurt.
Right.
What a game would that have been? Kellen Mond, Michael Penix Jr. for a chance. And then, Brandon, let's look at the second round. How much money would you pay to see Georgia with JT Daniels playing like he was at the end of the season, going to play Alabama again?
Do you mean how much money would I bet on that game? Because I bet all my entire life savings in that game. That sounds like the most fun game to bet on ever.
The Georgia team that was playing at the end of the season last year is the prime example of why this is a good idea. Because, yes, you might get rematches. Brandon, how I would have picked the Georgia team in week 13 to beat the Georgia team that went to Bryant-Denny by 30.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
And, I mean, then you get Oklahoma Notre Dame or Oklahoma Coastal, God forbid. What a matchup. And then, Brandon, Clemson, you get to see Clemson and Brent Venables in that defense go up against Kyle Pitts and Kyle Trask if they win that game, or they're tasked with the having the ability to stop Breece Hall.
Right. And I honestly don't know what would happen in that game because we saw that Clemson was kind of exposed against Ohio State. So that might be a really, really good game, actually.
Yeah, and then Ohio State, Texas A&M.
That's sweet.
Because without Michael Penix, I think A&M wins that game.
Yeah.
But if they had Penix, that would be a different story. But, Brandon, we went through 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. I saw maybe 2 or 3 guaranteed blowouts where I would say I bet my life savings that it was not going to be a close game.
Right.
In 5 years.
I don't know if I saw 3. I think I might have seen 2.
Yeah, the Ohio State, Western Michigan, bad start for your boy. But, man, look at that, guys. I want y'all to take a good look. Shout out to The Athletic for dropping these on their Twitter, by the way. Why would y'all not want this? If you're a college football playoff denier or expansion denier, comment down below. Why would you not want this? Like, pick out what game you would be like, man, I would not watch that. Yeah. I'd rather watch the GoDaddy Bowl in Mobile between what, Arkansas State and Tulsa. Is that what y'all want?
Nah.
Come on, man. This increases the amount of meaningful football. So Brandon, let's say it decreases the importance of the regular season by 2 weeks. You get 4 weeks of important football with matchups that you never get to see. I want y'all to look it up. When's the last time Florida played Iowa State?
That might have never happened.
Texas A&M, Indiana?
Also probably has never happened.
Notre Dame, Coastal Carolina?
Absolutely never happened. There's no chance.
Cincinnati, Georgia?
No, let's go back to Notre Dame Coastal. There's no chance in this world that game's ever happened, right?
not for anything meaningful. And let's look at the second round. When's the last time Notre Dame played Oklahoma? The 70s?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
And Florida Clemson. I don't know. Maybe never. Like, that's another maybe never. Right. I mean, you get so much more parity. And I mean, Brandon, I didn't have time to go through and count, how many new playoff teams, but let's just look at this bracket. A&M's first appearance, Indiana's first appearance, Iowa State's first appearance, Florida's first appearance, Coastal Carolina's first appearance, and Cincinnati's first appearance. Right. That's 6 teams who were first time. That's half the bracket has never had a chance to play for a national championship since the playoffs happened. And you're telling me it's bad for the parity of college football?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be joking if you think that. If you honestly think that, don't tell anybody that you are not a college football fan if you're rooting for this. Because to me, you're not the college football fan for wanting to keep it at 4 teams, for wanting to see the same 3 teams every single year, like, get an automatic bid to the playoffs. You're not a college football fan.
Yeah, and yes, Alabama will probably get in year and year out, but they already were. Yeah. But now this gets it. There is no other scenario. Coastal Carolina gets a shot at the college football playoff.
Right, and there's no other scenario. There's no other scenario where a group of 5 team period gets a chance at the college football playoff. Because if it was going to happen, it was going to happen this past season, and Cincinnati got snubbed.
If I remember right, I got to look up the stat. I'll bring it to y'all next episode. But it's like 60-something% of all college athletes play in the group of 5.
Yeah.
Or below. And it's like those kids never get a shot to play for anything meaningful.
Right.
I mean, and Brandon, I get the parity. Yes, Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State are all going to have top-rated recruiting classes every year. But when's the last time Luke Fickell got to go into a home and say, if you come to Cincinnati, you can play for a national championship, and here's some proof?
Exactly. I mean, that's –
when's the last time Dan Mullen was able to say that?
Right.
Or Jimbo Fisher or Tom Allen in Indiana. It increases the parity because it puts proof in front of these high school athletes. And, yes, Alabama's going to land a bunch of 5 stars, but guess what? There's going to be that occasional 5-star that gets snubbed, that goes and plays for one of these schools because they know they have a chance to play for a national title. I'll die on this. And listen, I invite, if you're a college football expert out there that happens to stumble upon this episode, I invite you to come on the podcast and we can debate this. Yeah. I'm ready. I got the ammo. We'll have a full episode debate thing. We'll make it debate style, just like whatever you want to call it, and we will have you on the show. Hit us up in the DMs. We will welcome any and all comers to this playoff expansion debate because I promise you, one, it's not gonna devalue the regular season. Two, it's not going to decrease the parity in college football. And three, it's not going to devalue bowl games because, Brandon, that's the other argument is that it's going to devalue bowl games, which are important to Group of Five programs. What bowl games are in the playoffs that matter to Group of Five programs? The Mobile, Alabama Bowl is not hosting a damn playoff game.
They're not. And if you really want to talk about Group of Five, caring about Group of Five programs, you should be rooting for this because look through the past, like look at what the Athletic posted. If you look at all of these, how many Group of Five teams have made it into here? Don't even start with that. That pisses me off. That made me really mad when you said that.
It doesn't make. And listen, those bowl games will still be there. You can go to the Hawaii Bowl. You can go to the Valero Bowl. You can go to the Music City Bowl. But guess what? The bowl games in the playoffs are already valued. You're going to have the Orange Bowl. You're going to have the Rose Bowl. You're going to have the Cotton Bowl. You're going to have the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, the Orange, like whatever, the Sugar Bowl. All these bowl games are going to be there. It's just we're making them even more important now because when the cycle rotates out, Brandon, did anyone other than us care about Cincinnati, Georgia in the Peach Bowl this year at 11 a.m.?
No.
How many people would care if it was for a chance to go play Alabama in the next round?
Dude, everyone in this country, every college football fan in this country will care.
And Brandon, can I ask you something? So in the regular season, you have, depending on the conference, 9 to 8 conference games, right?
Yeah.
Can you lose those and still make it in the conference championship?
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So are we devaluing the regular season, guys, or do you need to fight for your bye or fight to qualify for the playoffs? I mean, yeah, and people are going to say, oh, it devalues scheduling tough out-of-conference games. No one does it anyway.
It's a fact.
Alabama hasn't played a road non-conference game since like 1980.
Well, they did play Duke in Atlanta for the Chick-fil-A kickoff.
Alabama has not played a true road non-conference game since like 05 or 06, something like that.
I know.
They don't do it anyway. It doesn't matter. Like, what is your argument here?
Well, they just rather play Chattanooga, Zach. I mean, it's simple as that.
Listen, Alabama is still going to have to go out and play Auburn, LSU, Mississippi State. They're going to have to win those games. Oklahoma is going to have to play the Big 12. They got to play everyone in the Big 12 and beat them. If they don't beat them, they're not going to win the conference championship.
Right.
Damn, this ain't that hard. Like, I don't understand. Like, what is the argument? I need to understand why everyone's so against this. And I think it's the old-timey people who don't want to see change. This is the future of college football, and this betters the future of college football. And you can't give me a solid, logical argument of why.
Yeah.
Again, or against it. Like, I need to know. So comment below, man. We appreciate you. This is a long episode, and I knew it was going to be.
We're gonna retitle this the fourth quarter instead of the 2 minutes.
No, bro, we're gonna the 2-minute drill plus 3 overtimes. This is the Texas A&M LSU episode, the 7 overtime game, guys. We appreciate you rocking with us, man. Listen, it's Friday. Y'all have time. Y'all catch up on the weekend on this extra long episode. We dropped a lot of info, man. So make sure to comment below your opinion, man. We want to hear what y'all think about this playoff expansion talk. What would your top model be? Would you watch all these games we covered today? And, what side are you on for playoff expansion or not playoff expansion? Comment below and let us know. Make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up, man. It helps us get this content out there. So we appreciate y'all. We're so close to 300 subscribers. So we appreciate all y'all support, man. Hashtag road to 1K here on the Blue Bloods. We appreciate y'all, man. But for B-Dub, myself, the Blue Bloods on the 2-minute drill, we'll be back Monday. But for right now, we are out.